Americans are capable of achieving extraordinary things when they have the freedom and opportunity to do so. This is American Potential. And here's your host, Jeff Crank.
All right, well, welcome to another edition of American Potential. We've got a great story about someone breaking a barrier, a government-imposed barrier, and government actually helped them break the barrier. It's going to be a great discussion on this week's episode. I do have to tell you, I had something happen to me this last week, and it's annoyed me. And maybe it's a generational thing. I got to tell you, and look, I don't want to be the guy like, listen, these young whippersnappers, they're doing you. I don't want to be that guy. But I do want to give a little bit of millennial advice. If you're a millennial, maybe this is a millennial thing. I'm going to ask Matt. Matt's a millennial, so maybe I can ask Matt this question. But so the other day, earlier this last week, I was supposed to have somebody who was supposed to call me. They said they were going to call me. And like the week goes by and they hadn't called. I never got a voicemail from them. And I'm like, well, I guess they never called me. So they text me and say, hey, are we ever going to talk? And I'm like, well, I thought you were going to call me. I never saw you call. And you know what they said? They literally said, well, I did. I called you on Monday. And so I go back through my phone and I look, and it's a number I don't even know, and it's a missed call. They didn't leave a voicemail. This is apparently a thing now that millennials do not. Is this right, Matt? Do millennials not leave voicemails?
That millennials absolutely do not leave voicemails. They do not.
Okay. Why? Let me ask you. I mean, why would that be? If you want someone to call you back, and I'm just giving you a tip if you are a millennial, if you want someone to call you back, leave a voicemail. Do you agree, Matt?
I would agree. But the problem is millennials can text now. Okay, so they, and I see this a lot. Not just and you're not talking about me, right?
Right.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm not talking about you.
Yeah. No, but I've seen this. So instead of leaving a voicemail, hey, give me a call back at this time. Here's my number. All of that stuff. They would just prefer. Okay, I just had something quick for you. I'm just going to text you. Hey, called you. Give me a call back whenever.
Yeah.
Though I think this person you're talking about, them not at least texting you back, letting you know that they did try to call, that's still unforgivable. Well, you can't do that.
But what is the point of having voicemails if you're not going to use voicemail? Like, aren't millennials supposed to be like the tech kings? Everything is about tech to them.
Well, one thing that I will say that I like this feature. A lot of phones now will transcribe your voicemails automatically. Right. So, and when I get a voicemail, I tend to just read the transcription instead of actually listening to it. So I guess in that sense, you could have just texted me.
Yeah. Well, and look, I don't want to be the old cranky old guy just saying, look, hey, if you want me to call you back, you better leave me a voicemail. But if you do want me to call you back, you better leave me a voicemail. No, look, if you say you're going to, I was like, what am I supposed to do? Just go through here and look at all the missed calls, like go through every missed call of every number I don't have in my phone. It's just, this area code and this number. And I look at that. Am I supposed to call them back and go, hey, I saw that you called. What were you trying to leave? Just leave a voicemail. Is this that hard? Matt, come on.
I'll give it to you. It is at least easier saying the voice, like speaking, than it is to type it out on a text. I don't know, but actually, some millennials might find it easier to text than actually speak.
Here's the thing: it doesn't matter what's easier. Let's just do what like what you said you were going to do. I'm going to give you a call. That means leave a voicemail. Just if you call somebody, leave a voicemail for them. If you text them, then don't. Okay, all right, enough. Thank you, Matt. I just wanted to know if it was me. Get your generation going on this, would you? Start a campaign. Do something. Get a website. Do something, Matt.
I'll leave a voicemail.
All right. Thank you, Matt. That's great. All right. Well, on today's podcast, we're going to talk about how the effects of one state senator reading a news article was able to get a bill passed that cut 30% of the state's regulations, but also motivated someone to get more involved with talking to lawmakers. Ohio State Senator Christina Regner was reading a news article and saw that Ohio ranked 43rd in states that CEOs would want to locate their business. At the time, Ohio had over 246,000 regulations of code, which meant it was inhibiting economic opportunities. So she introduced a bill that would cut 30% of regulation over the next 3 years, 10% each year. And after the bill was passed, a website was set up for business owners and individuals to submit regulations that personally affected them. Today's guest is a business owner who used the website to submit an issue he was having and, to his surprise, had someone contact him the very next day to get it resolved. I want to welcome Brad Gibson, who is the owner of Gibson Electrical, and he's going to talk about his business and the experience he had with using the website. Brad, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Terrific. Thank you. How are you?
Well, I'm good. You know, we talk about all of the government barriers that get set up in across the country. Sometimes it's the federal government, sometimes it's the state government, sometimes it's local. And we love talking to people who are able to help remove some of those barriers. And what a great idea this state senator had in Ohio to do this and to reduce regulation and to set a goal to get it reduced 10% a year for 3 years. Were you surprised, first and foremost, you must have been really surprised when someone called you the very next day? I'm sure that shocked you, right?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I can, because you don't know who to, the government sometimes feels like it's so big, you don't know where to start, right?
Right.
So I just basically pulled up the website, typed in my issue that I was having. I hit send, and I was like, okay, well, see where this goes. And I was very surprised when I got a call from the person. They were just like, how can I help you, Mr. Gibson?
It's like, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
So it's to my pleasant surprise, you got to get to the right person, talking through the items that we needed to address, and got an immediate result. So it was, as far as specifics, my son, when we got my start, my son was still in high school, and it's been kind of the second generation. Is kind of how, I don't want to say since birth, but it's been his lifelong interest as far as doing electrical and electrical engineering. So he had graduated from Ohio State University in electrical engineering and had worked for a couple engineers, whether it be through intern or through his job. And then once the timing got right, and through COVID and stuff, a lot of things changed in his world, and we had got our start way back when I was just me and residential, like way back 2000. And then we created this business, 2008, incorporated it, and he's come on board. And the rules say that if something was to happen to me, because now we have somewhere between 40 to 48 people-ish. So it's, several people that we have our lives. They're when they work for us, their lives are in our hands, right? So,
right.
As far as their livelihoods and stuff, right? And I was at one of my continuing eds where we have to go each year and get our CEs to continue to have our license and update on new code changes and stuff. And it was told to me, and for some reason I never knew this, that if something happened to me and I passed away, there's a 90-day period that they can pull permits and operate the company. And after that, you had to find someone that was a licensed holder to use their license. But then there's also the thing to where you can't sell your license. So they would actually have to be part of the company to where they would have to assign their license to this company. And typically in Ohio, if you're a license holder, you do that so you can pull permits. You're a business owner. You have your own business. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure there are exceptions, but most of the time that's the rules. So we had submitted for my son to be able to test, so that way if something happened to me, the company would be able to go on. And there were certain criterias or whatever. You submit this packet, and the board meets, and then they make a decision. Well, they had made a decision against that. He wasn't able to take the test. So I kind of explained the situation. Once I got the phone call after using the website to the right person, they called me. We had the conversation, and she looked back over the information and said, okay, give me these few other things. And we resubmitted that to her, and she said, okay, he's approved to take the test. And it was just it took a conversation with the right person, and now he's able to set for the test and be able to do that to where now, if something was to happen, the company would go on. All these people's jobs are secured. And not only that, the customers, and we have an obligation to our customers that we are contracted to finish their work and on time, on budget. So, that really throws a hiccup in it if something was to happen. So, I really was pleasantly surprised how the website worked for me.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. First of all, my mother-in-law is an Ohio State Buckeye, so I won't ask you to sing the Buckeye battle cry, even though that would thrill her to death. I won't give her that pleasure. But congratulations on your son getting the degree there. I know it's the Ohio State University, as they like to say, right? The Ohio State University.
Yeah, that's what. Anytime you're in a crowd, no matter what state you're in, you can just say OH, and I'm sure somebody will respond IO. So.
That's right. Exactly. Well,
where's the Buckeyes?
That's right.
Anyway,
that's right. Well, and you're really right to point out here that, your business, you have employees that their livelihood depends on this. And this was a situation that if something were to happen to you could put their livelihood in jeopardy. And as you mentioned, your customers and all. So it seems like some of this regulation or these decisions are written by people who don't take that into account. There may be the regulators who don't really think through that kind of stuff. And so this was really quite an opportunity for you to look at this. I mean, I'm sure you're very glad that it turned out the way that it did. How did you find out about the bill that Senator Regner introduced, and what did you think about it when you saw that?
So my son-in-law, Kyle Miller, works for American for Prosperity in Ohio, the Ohio region. And he was talking to me about it because we talk, and I was like, well, I had this situation, and he knows, about the business and stuff. And he's like, well, I know a senator, and just the conversation started and about the bill and stuff. And, I kiddingly was like, well, this thing needs to be put on the radio. This needs to be advertised. So everybody, knows this thing's out there because it's effective. I mean, I think that her vision is really helping the state as a whole and small business owners and people that, want to have that voice. So, but that's how I found out about it is through Kyle Miller and Americans for Prosperity. So, but then, and I also got the privilege, once I did that, I got to speak with her over video chat, and it was nice to be able to meet her and put a face to the name. I mean, you always see their names on there, but you never actually, get to meet them or interact. So that was also an honor that I, was able to do. So
right. And did you use the website? Is that what you did? Was just go to their website and submitted your concern?
Yeah, it was crazily simple. I mean, it was just, I pulled up the website and you type your, contact information so they can contact you and just say, this is my issue, send. Wow. And I was like, well, because we're used to the government taking a while, right? There's a lot of quote, red tape. It's funny. But anyway, so what floored me, and the reason I talk about it all the time to anybody that'll listen, is because of the quick response and being able to, not because I got a favorable resolution necessarily. That's not what I mean. I'm saying even if the answer was no, at least I got to talk to the person and we had a conversation. But it was just a quick response. It was the professionalism behind, how the lady approached me. It was like, oh, I understand you have a problem, Mr. Gibson. How am I willing to help? I'm the person you need to talk to. So, I just, I'm really appreciative of it because it's such a simple thing. It's just anybody can go on there and do it. And I would encourage people to, locate the exact website and how you can do it. I'm sure that if you do a search through a search engine or something like that, that you can find it very, very easily. And it is a very, very simple process. And, firsthand experience says it is effective to be able to at least get to the person that you need to.
Yeah. And I think in Ohio, I think it is cutredtape.ohio.gov is what I have here. Cutredtape.ohio.gov is the website, which, that's great. I wish every state and every government had kind of a similar situation that this could happen. So you got contacted the next day. I want to understand the timeline here too, because it is remarkable, frankly, that you got, a lot of people put stuff in a website to the government and they never think anybody ever looks at it or sees it. You got contacted the next day, but then how long did it take for them to actually resolve the issue and get back to you and say, hey, here's how it's been resolved. Your son can go ahead and do this?
So it would have been the file we spoke, I believe, on a Thursday or Friday, and by that Tuesday, she emailed me and said he's in.
Wow!
And then the packet came right out.
That's just.
It's amazing, but maybe we'd already she already had a packet. I didn't have to send her too much stuff, but still the response compared to the anguish that I was going through before. I realized there was a website, the months and months and months and the stress. I'm like, once I found that out, I was like, this is top priority. We need to have another license here. So very prompt. Less than a week, we had resolution. So.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. It's great to hear that government can be responsive when it wants to be. And kudos to this state senator who decided that this was important enough to do, and think of all the other people. Your story is just one story. There's probably many, many others where this red tape was cut through very quickly. How much time do you think this saved you and your son?
Well, hours and hours of, I don't even know how to quantify it. It's we weren't getting anywhere. So it's hard to know if we would have ever got resolution. It could have taken, based off what they were asking for, it could have took another 2-3 years to be able to. If I just would have took it for face value and not had a discussion behind it to help her understand, where we were coming from and why this situation was the way it was. And we still had to. It wasn't like this was a special favor. We still had to provide documentation, but it was the narrative, because you're not in the board meetings when they're talking about an individual. It was the narrative behind, oh, this is why I feel that you're not correct in this particular, for instance. And after we talked through it, it was immediate. So, it saved years, ultimately. If I just wouldn't have had to be able to do that, with the website.
Yeah. Well, what's remarkable about this, and I would just encourage, if there's state legislators in other states that are listening, or if you're a business owner in another state and you're hearing this story and you think, man, this could happen in my state, I encourage you to contact Americans for Prosperity. You can contact me directly at jeff@americanpotential.com, and I'll get you connected to the right person who can help you in your state, maybe get a similar law like this passed so that there would be a similar effort in your state, and get some of this red tape reduced in your state as well. And if you're a state legislator listening to this, or the governor, I don't know how many governors we have listening to the podcast, but I'm sure if you're listening to this, why not do this? Make it easier for your state to be one of those states that businesses want to grow in and start up in and things like that. Now, Brad, you've gotten involved with the independent electrical contractors. So what do they do, and why do you think it's important for you to join them and to work with them?
So the IEC is where we do the apprenticeship programs for our, the guys that go in at level 1, right off the street, even sometimes, and then go all the way through to get their journeyman certificate. They do the 4-year, equivalent, the 4-year degree, if you will, and then have their equivalents of their on-the-job training of 8,000 hours and their register of state as a journeyman electrician. So they do safety training. There's there's all kinds of stuff. There's so many facets to the be part of the organization. Getting to know the other independent electrical contractor owners and stuff like that, just to understand where they're coming from, their stories, and who they are, and just to kind of have some unity there. It's been very beneficial to us. I think we started probably 4 years ago, because we were with another organization before we switched strictly to the IEC. But the last couple of years, we've really been involved a lot more heavily when they have. I don't know. It's just once you understand that there's opportunity there and the support structure there, then you continue to use it more and more. So our safety lady uses it, our HR lady uses it. I mean, just we're involved with events that they put on and help with. There's just so many. We've talked to legislators on behalf of IEC. I personally was. They allowed me to go along with and meet Senator Michelle Reynolds in her office. So that was quite an honor, privilege to meet her. Really nice lady. So there's just all those opportunities that they have, and us being a merit-based shop. That's it fits our thinking when it comes to apprentices, because we not only are they learning to be electricians, we're all in the same mind of we're building young men and women out there as far as to be productive, to be good at their craft, to perfect their craft, because people don't really look at this sometimes, but the tradesmen are professional installers in no matter what trade it is, they're a professional installer. This is their profession. Mm-hmm. They're perfecting their perfection and their craft.
Right.
So, and then their home life and things like that, just taking the whole individual and making them better and giving them opportunity to be better and have a support structure in doing all that. Because it's not easy to raise a family, be a mother or father, a husband, go to school after working, all day long, and then turn around and going to school consistently. Depending on whether you're part of the accelerated program or the regular program, it's a huge commitment, and it is straining on relationships. So, helping with that situation is what I believe the IEC is very good at. So,
right. Now, you've also, I think, through IEC and others, you started to talk to lawmakers about potentially other issues.
Yes.
Through the association that electrical contractors, have that come up. What's some of the other things that you'd like to see changed in Ohio that you think would help your business?
Well, I don't believe that there's been other side to a coin. There's always been the merit-based shop and the union shops, and then basically it's only been like a one-sided conversation. But as far as based off of what I've seen and the limited knowledge that I have, based off of that, I know that we have a lot of voters and we have a lot of apprentices. We have a lot of, we do the same trainings. We are, our young men are, just as qualified as the other side. When they come out, they're both registered journeymen with the state. They both have 8,000 hours. It's an accredited apprenticeship program. But I don't believe lawmakers are aware of the market share that the independents have, as a collective group. So I'm afraid to quote percentages, but I know that it's somewhere around the 80 to 86% of the market share if you took the number of independents, versus the other side. So I think educating them on there is alternatives, and that, when they're introducing a bill or legislation or amendments to bills, that it's affecting more than one group of people. And I just think that it's important for them to be aware of both sides of the coin. That way they can make an informed decision Because everybody that I've met, and I'm not a political guy as far as a guru or anything. These are, people that I respect of what they do in the office, but everybody seems very reasonable when I meet them. They just don't know. Mm-hmm. They're not informed. So I think that's right. One of the major things that the IEC is helping out with and really leading the charge on is to the other side of the coin.
Right. And I think Ohio is not a right to work state. It'd be, that would probably be something too, that, if Ohio became a right to work state,
yes,
where we can allow people to decide whether they want to join a union or not join a union, but there's not a forced joining of a union based on where you work. Any thoughts on that? So
the right to work, I guess what I'll say is, It troubles me that the collective bargaining can happen to where, I'm the one that is taking all the risk and building the business, and we treat our guys very well. I mean, merit-based, let's take merit-based. Merit-based is if we have a guy that has less experience versus a guy that's been in the industry 20 or 30 years, that guy doesn't have to be paid on a set scale. He gets paid on merit. Mm-hmm. He gets paid based off of his, how he's producing his self-sacrifice. I mean, everything when it comes to him being able to, pave his own path versus when you have a set scale or you have people that are not performing like they should, and it takes many hours to try to get rid of someone because they're protected in so many different ways, they're not encouraged to produce anymore. They're just kind of riding the train, So I really enjoy the fact of the merit-based shops, to where we're paying our guys on merit. We're paying our guys on performance, and we're not strict to these rules. Now, the other thing that I'll say that a lot of people aren't aware of, and part of the message from the IEC is that we are competitive when it comes to a wage or fairness. We listen to our guys. We have feedback from our guys. We encourage feedback. So we are, creating an environment that is produces people to want to do better, to want to perfect their craft.
Right.
So, and they're paid, the similar benefits in many, many ways. I know that we, have this checklist that we go through to make sure that we're, being fair to everyone, because my philosophy and a lot of the philosophies of the people that I've, been in contact with is it's not all about the business or the business owner. It's a family type of environment. People look at it as that's just not a number. That I know that guy. I know his wife. I know his kids. I know he's getting ready to have a baby. It's just, and it doesn't matter whether these people have 100, 300 electricians, whatever, or 40 like we do. It's just one of those situations to where we're looking at individuals and paying based off their merit. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's important. And again, it's about worker freedom and allowing workers to decide for themselves as well what they want to be a part of. Brad, thank you so much. I mean, first of all, thanks for getting involved here and seeing that. I mean, I think a lot of people would see a website like that and say, well, that's just a bunch of nonsense. Government's never going to answer me. You took the time to do it, and you were very pleasantly surprised by the quick response that you got, and not only a quick response, but they solved your problem, which was great. And so I want to thank you for that. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So, I would say if you're in Ohio, cutredtape.ohio.gov is where you should go and find, if you know of a regulation that could be cut or an impediment to your progress as a business, go ahead and submit that. If you live in another state, as I said, talk to your state representative to try and get a similar law like this passed. You can also email me. I'll get you hooked up with Americans for Prosperity and your state chapter, who can help you work on that. Send me an email, jeff@americanpotential.com, jeff@americanpotential.com, and I will get you hooked up, and hopefully you guys will be good partners with Americans for Prosperity. Hey, thanks for connecting with us. You can continue to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can connect with us on Facebook, on Twitter. And if you know of a great story of someone that's working on expanding freedom and opportunity that we should share on this podcast, be sure to go to our website, AmericanPotential.com, and fill out the share your story section. So hope that you will do that. Thanks for listening to another edition of American Potential.
Thank you for listening to American Potential. You may listen to more stories from Americans working every day to expand freedom and opportunity in their communities by visiting AmericanPotential.com.